A financial services firm is 8 months into a core banking system migration. The project is technically on track. The development work is progressing. The testing schedule is holding. But something is wrong with the project's information environment. The sponsor, a managing director who approves the budget, is receiving a weekly status report that describes everything as green. What the report does not mention is that 3 of the 7 integration points have unresolved issues that the technical team has been quietly managing for 6 weeks. The business operations team, the people who will actually use the new system, have not been briefed on any of the process changes the migration will require of them. They are expecting the new system to work exactly like the old one. The vendor delivering the middleware layer believes the acceptance criteria were changed 2 months ago. The project team believes they were not. None of these situations involve dishonesty. Nobody is hiding information maliciously. Each of these information gaps exists because nobody designed a system to prevent them. Nobody decided, deliberately and in advance, who needed to know what, in what format, through which channel, and at what frequency. When the project went live 3 months later, the impact of these gaps was felt simultaneously. The sponsor learned about the integration issues in a board meeting where a client raised a service failure. The operations team started raising change requests within days of go-live because the system did not behave as they expected. The vendor dispute took 4 months and significant legal cost to resolve. According to the Project Management Institute, poor communication is the primary contributor to project failure in roughly 1/3 of all unsuccessful projects. Not technical failure, not budget overruns. Communication breakdown. Welcome back to The Catalyst. This is episode 14. Today, we cover communication management, what it actually is, why it is different from just talking to people, what a real communication management plan looks like, and how the most effective project managers design their information environment rather than leaving it to chance. Communication management is the planned, structured approach to ensuring that the right information reaches the right people, in the right format, through the right channel, at the right frequency, to support the decisions and behaviors the project requires. That definition deserves to be unpacked, because there is a critical distinction at its heart that most project teams miss. Sending information is not communicating. Sending is a transmission event. Communication is a received and understood and acted upon event. A status report that nobody reads is not communication. It is filing. A meeting that nobody comes prepared for is not communication. It is an obligation. The measure of communication is not output. It is outcome. The Project Management Institute recognizes communication management as one of the 10 core knowledge areas of project management. It encompasses 3 processes: planning communications, managing communications, and monitoring communications. Each process addresses a different dimension of the same fundamental challenge, making sure the right people have the right information to do their jobs and make their decisions. A project manager typically spends between 70 and 90% of their time communicating in some form, which means that communication is not a peripheral project management activity. It is the central one, and treating it as something that just happens, rather than something that needs to be designed, is one of the most persistent and avoidable causes of project failure. The communication management plan is the foundation of this entire discipline. It is a document that answers 6 questions for every significant audience in your project. The first question is who? Who are the audiences for this project's communications? This requires your stakeholder register as an input. Different audiences have different information needs different levels of understanding, and different communication preferences. A steering committee needs strategic status and decision requests. A development team needs task-level clarity and blocker removal. A business operations team needs process change guidance and training schedules. A single broadcast message to everyone serves none of them well. The second question is what? What information does each audience need? Not what information is available, but what information does this specific audience need to do their job or make their decision? Most communication plans default to sharing everything with everyone, on the theory that more information is safer than less. The consequence is that important information gets buried in noise, and people stop reading. The third question is when? At what frequency does each audience need updates? A sponsor may need a fortnightly executive summary and a monthly steering committee briefing. A project team may need daily stand-ups and a weekly retrospective. A regulatory authority may need structured updates tied to phase gates. The frequency should match the decision-making cycle of the audience, not the convenience of the project team. The fourth question is how? Through which channel? This question matters more in the current working environment than it ever has. Remote and hybrid teams work across Slack, Teams, email, video calls, shared drives, and project management tools. And information getting lost between channels is a chronic failure mode. The communication plan should specify the authoritative channel for each type of information, so there is no ambiguity about where the version of record lives. The fifth question is, who sends it? Accountability for communication is as important as the communication itself. If it is everyone's job to communicate the project status, it will eventually become nobody's job. Named owners for named communication artifacts, a specific person responsible for the weekly sponsor update, a specific person responsible for the team newsletter, a specific person responsible for the external stakeholder briefing, is how you prevent communication from drifting. The sixth question is, how do you know it landed? This is the question most communication plans omit entirely. Confirmation of receipt is not confirmation of understanding. Building feedback mechanisms into your communication approach, reading receipts, brief acknowledgement responses, comprehension checks in key meetings, is what separates broadcasting from communicating. Let us name the communication failures that appear in almost every troubled project. The first is the status report that nobody reads. This is usually a symptom of a report that was designed for the writer, not the reader. It is too long, too technical, and too uniform. The fix is not better writing. It is better design. What does this specific audience need to know in order to act? Lead with that. Everything else is optional reading. The second is the meeting that could have been an email, and the email that should have been a meeting. Both failures come from the same root cause. No deliberate thinking about which communication mode serves which purpose. Decisions that require discussion, debate, and shared commitment belong in synchronous settings. Status updates that need to be on record belong in asynchronous formats. Mixing these creates the worst of both worlds. The third is the sponsor ambush. This is the moment when a project's biggest problem surfaces at a board meeting rather than in the project team. It happens when bad news is systematically filtered out of upward communication, either because the project manager is protecting themselves or because the governance structure has inadvertently created a culture where green is always the safe color. The fix is an explicit escalation agreement with the sponsor. These are the conditions under which I will call you outside the normal reporting cycle. The fourth is communication that is technically accurate but contextually incomplete. A project that is on schedule today but heading toward a delay in 3 weeks is technically on track, but reporting it as such without surfacing. The emerging risk creates a false sense of security. Communication management requires judgment about what the audience needs to know to make good decisions, not just what is currently factually true. The communication management challenge has been dramatically reshaped by the rise of distributed and hybrid teams. When the project team sits in multiple time zones, a common reality for teams working across India, Europe, and North America, the informal communication infrastructure that once held teams together no longer exists. The corridor conversation, the kitchen check-in, the visual cue that a colleague is struggling. None of these survive the shift to distributed work. What replaces them has to be designed. Deliberate asynchronous communication norms, documented decisions and their rationale, structured overlap windows for synchronous work, explicit norms about which channel is authoritative for which type of information. Organizations like HCL Technologies and Cognizant, which routinely manage large projects across India, the US, and Europe, have developed detailed communication architecture guidelines precisely because the cost of communication failure at global scale is so high. The lesson from those environments is that the investment in communication infrastructure at the start of a project pays back many times over in avoided misalignment and rework. 5 things to carry from this episode. 1. Communication is not what you send. It is what is received, understood, and acted upon. Measuring communication output, number of emails sent, number of meetings held, is measuring the wrong thing. Measure whether the right people have what they need to make decisions. 2. The communication management plan is a project deliverable, not a section of the project plan. It should be built at the start of the project, in consultation with key stakeholders, and maintained throughout. It is not a document you file after kickoff and never revisit. 3. 1/3 of project failures are driven by communication breakdown, not technical failure, not budget failure. The information environment of a project is a risk factor that deserves the same rigor as any other risk. 4. The 6 questions: who, what, when, how, who sends, how do you know it landed, are the design framework for every communication artifact in your project. Apply them to every recurring report, every meeting, every notification you build into your project rhythm. 5. Your action this week. Look at your project's current communication artifacts, your status reports, your meetings, your updates, and ask whether each one was designed for the recipient or for the sender. If you cannot clearly articulate what the recipient does with the information you are sending them, the artifact needs to be redesigned. Coming up on episode 15 of The Catalyst, we close this series with one of the most powerful and underused strategic planning frameworks available. GOEST: Goals, Objectives, Strategies, and Tactics. The 4-layer planning hierarchy that separates organizations with clear direction from those that are permanently busy and permanently confused. What each layer means, why they are so frequently conflated, and how building a GOEST framework for any initiative creates the clarity that makes execution possible. Stay tuned.